Executive Officer of Economic Development, Lethbridge. And finally, someone who loves Lethbridge. He says almost as much as me.
You make it tough competition.
And he's always up for a chance to talk about our community and Southern Alberta. So he's ready to talk to anybody who'll listen. And I told him we have a good audience here. So,
Correct.
Trevor, welcome to Maria's Musings.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Well, I'm excited to have you for sure. We don't get to see each other as much as we used
That's very
to,
true.
and I miss it. So we have many things to talk about tonight, and I don't know if we're going to get to them all, but we'll see how
I
it
can
goes.
always come back another time.
That's right. So how about we start with the Conference Board of Canada's Mid-Sized Cities Report and their assessment of Lethbridge. So what can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so the Conference Board of Canada is sort of an independent think tank. They objectively look at all kinds of different things. But one of the things they do each year is look at mid-sized cities. So not the big Edmontons and Calgarys, but more the Red Deers and Lethbridges of the world. And they look at GDP, so gross domestic product, which is a measure of the economy. They look at jobs, they look at employment. And what they said about Lethbridge is actually that we've outpaced the growth in most other mid-sized cities, even across Canada. So we've seen in 2017 and 2018 more than 5% growth in the economy, which is pretty significant when you look around other parts.
Yes.
Pretty consistent population growth, pretty consistent job growth. So they say, the prospects for Lethbridge are actually very positive.
I'm happy to hear that for sure, because we've talked many times about what we need to do here to help Lethbridge grow. And obviously we've gone over the 100,000 mark, and it's had some impact. So there are some things that have helped us go over that 100,000 mark, and certainly I'm sure the Conference Board has identified a couple of those things. So do you want to talk about maybe what is the catalyst that makes it happen?
For sure. I mean, we're very fortunate to have two world-class post-secondary institutions in this city, and I know you're a big fan. But between those two institutions, they are our first and third largest employers. They are roughly 1/5 or 20% of the economy. So they're significant in terms of what they spend and what they contribute. But why, more importantly perhaps to business and to industry, is you've got a very talented workforce, right? Lethbridge is attractive because they know there's talent, and both of our institutions have demonstrated a willingness to change their programming to match what business needs. That's very exciting to people that want to locate opportunities here. So the Conference Board says, our post-secondary sector is important, not only for talent development, but also in terms of what they contribute directly in terms of salaries and spend. The other big one that makes Lethbridge a little bit different than everywhere else is agriculture.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
So agriculture by itself is also about 20% or 1/5 of the economy. Not nearly as many jobs, but in terms of its impact, it's very, very significant. And unlike the rest of the province, we don't have very many oil and gas assets, right?
No.
That's just a function of our history.
Yeah.
So we have always had to do something a little bit different. We've got a pretty diversified economy overall with agriculture as the foundation. And there are certainly some risks on the horizon with trade and some other things. But agriculture has been very stable and very predictable for us and sort of added to that growth and that foundation.
So I just want to touch on one thing in terms of agriculture, and that is we have a huge canola seed industry in southern Alberta.
Right.
And certainly we have a trade agreement issue with a large country. However, I did hear that they may not be taking our seeds, but they are taking our canola oil. Is that correct?
Yes and no.
Okay.
So yeah, clearly international trade has been very complicated, particularly with China and India of late.
Yes.
India more so on lentils and other products.
Okay.
But China does have a growing need for our products. There's obviously some politics at play right now, and that is what it is. So they have blocked the export of some of our canola seed, but to your point, they are taking oils, they are taking refined and sort of pre-finished goods like margarines and things like that. They're also taking it from some companies, but not others. So it's not an across-the-board ban. It's been very selective, very driven, I think, more by political issues as opposed to actual legitimate issues. So that will play out over time. And I mean, we've had a number of investors from China in the city. I've had at least 2 delegations over the summer, and all of them talk about their interest in Canada. They see Canada as a good market. They're very conscious of the fact that there's politics and issues to be resolved, but they don't see that as a long-term issue. So hopefully this is just a blip. But in the meantime, we want to make sure that our growers and our producers and our farmers have access to other international markets to fill the gap.
Exactly. So that really brings us into Canada's premier food corridor. So I know that we are leaders in our country, and probably leaders right across the world in terms of the food corridor that we have here. And it's a topic that you and I have discussed many times. So we've talked at processing plants, we've talked out on farms, and we've talked over at Tech Connect, and we'll talk about that later. So how is that food corridor impacting Alberta, southern Alberta specifically, and the rest of our country?
Great question. I mean, Canada's Premier Food Corridor is a collaborative effort of 5 municipal organizations. So one thing we do in southern Alberta better than anybody else, in my opinion, is collaboration and teamwork.
Yes.
And we have a reputation for that.
Yes.
And the evidence of that is visible in this initiative. So it's communities like the City of Lethbridge through Economic Development Lethbridge. It's the Town of Taber, the MD of Taber, the County of Lethbridge, as well as the Town of Coaldale.
Yes.
So 5 partners. And what we're doing is we're marketing the region and our collective strengths to external parties like site selectors, like investors, to say, listen, in Lethbridge, you can get R&D capacity at our federal research station, at our post-secondary institutions. You can tap into expertise. We have some of the largest global processors here already making goods. You have amazing local growers and farmers that are producing world quality, world-renowned, great reputation in terms of the quality and consistency of products that you can get here. So we're taking that to the market and saying, listen, if you're in the food business, you should be in southern Alberta. You have access to the US just next door, right? We're right at the top of the Canamex corridor. Canada has trade agreements with preferential access to Europe through the Comprehensive European Trade Agreement, as well as the new Comprehensive and Progressive Trans-Pacific Partnership. Say that 3 times fast. But Canada has actually access to greater markets for our exports than even the US does. So how do companies come here and take advantage of that? Not only the talent, the local products, but also this global market. So that's really what the 5 are doing. And we use the hashtag Southern Alberta Feeds the World, because I firmly believe that Alberta can be a global leader, even more so than it is today. And Southern Alberta in particular could be really leading the charge and delivering those value-added jobs right here.
Okay, so I know in our food corridor we have such a variety of goods. And we have dryland farming, and we have irrigated farming. And you talked a few moments ago about India. And lentils, pulses, that's a huge market here in southern Alberta. And can you just expand a little bit? Because I've been out at the Viterra,
the bean plant out by Taber,
plant,
yeah.
Right? And I've been to the potatoes, but I see there's such a variety that farmers can focus on different things, and they can certainly rotate crops. They can do all kinds of things because we have such a large market and a large diversity of products. So what's going on with India?
Well, India, again, similar concerns to China, allegedly around quality control, particularly in our lentils and peas. But India is also one of the biggest global competitors for some of those products. So again, my belief is that it's more to do with politics than it is the reality on the ground. So really for us, the opportunity is in the value-added processing, right? So, for a long time, Canada's been the haulers of water and the hewers of wood. We export raw commodities. We essentially pay somebody else to take our products. They process them, create jobs and economic opportunity, and then we buy those products back at a higher price. Well, all of that processing should happen here. We have the ability to create those jobs and that economic opportunity right here at home. So that's really the focus of the food corridor, but also groups like Protein Industries Canada. So one of the federal superclusters there's a real opportunity around how do we convert the R&D that we do quite well in our public sector, in our post-secondary institutions, and how do we take that knowledge and convert it along with industry into actual products and innovations? Right? How do we get that into the market and create jobs? And those are all big sort of fluffy buzzwords that don't mean anything. What is innovation? But essentially, we know we're world leaders, but how do we tangibly make money from that? That's what it's all about.
Okay, but we're moving in that direction.
Absolutely.
We already are making money, but we could certainly make a lot more money. I'm always impressed when I see the products that we're growing here, and I go over to the college,
right,
and I look at some of the things that are happening in the agriculture program over there. So, and I'm always interested in how that communication works between agriculture and the college and the university. So are we doing a program that teaches our students how to market those products in other countries, in the U.S., here at home? Is that part of what the ag program is doing?
Yeah, the college and the university have worked actually together, again, sort of unique to post-secondary institutions in the province, on a joint agribusiness program. So it was funding that was jointly provided to both institutions by Cor Van Ray, sort of a prominent name in southern Alberta. But really what the college and the university have done over the last number of years is decided that we can work together. We offer different value-added streams both for students, but also in terms of applied research. We're not competitors, we're complementary. So it's nice to see that. The college and the university are looking at how do we respond to the needs of industry? If we use potatoes as a perfect example, the university has a research chair in potato science that's funded by the large potato processors. So that's an important part around disease management. But the college also has a research chair on post-harvest techniques. So now we've got, we're starting to grow the whole value chain. There's also a research chair in irrigation science at the college, as an example. Another important aspect. So we're starting to stitch all the components together and really build a system approach, which I think is very exciting.
Oh, I absolutely agree with you. And I'm going to add one more piece to that, because I know that you are part of, I guess it's the board for the Dillon School of Business Management. So does that tie in as well?
Absolutely. Yeah, I do sit on the advisory board for the Dillon School, and I'm grateful for the opportunity. They've got some great things going on there. But certainly the business, the agribusiness, how do you run an agricultural business? How do you as a farmer or a grower, how do you plan the succession of your family business into multiple generations? How do you leverage technologies like blockchain for smart contracts that are happening globally? So the Dillon School is focused on a number of aspects that of course touch on other industries, but very, very important to agriculture as well.
Excellent. And you're certainly the person to be here talking about it.
Well, thank you for that.
So you've been on several trade missions, and I think you've been to China, and I think you've been to Japan. So would you share kind of the reason that you attended, and how do the missions tie into our economic development? And I know you've touched on it a little bit.
Yeah, there's always a risk in making travel and doing things like a trade mission, because there can be a perception that, well, this is just a paid junket. This is an excuse for people just to travel. And that's a fair criticism. We are primarily funded by municipal tax dollars, so we do need to be responsible to the taxpayer. I firmly believe in that.
Yes.
However, most trade relationships and long-term trade agreements come from building relationships. These are not things that happen by email or in one visit. So it's really important to understand the markets where we're trying to do business. Doing business in China is very different than doing business here.
Yes.
Both obviously clearly from a language perspective, but also just the norms and culture, how business transactions occur, what meetings look like. And those are the kinds of things that you can't do unless you're physically there. And likewise, bringing people here. I would say the key to some of those trade missions and some of the work that we do is making sure that we have clear outcomes. We need to have measurable results. So it's not about going on a trip and that's all.
Done.
There has to be things that come out of it.
Yeah.
But it's also making sure that we've got the right people at the table. So that China mission that the mayor led, and we sent some staff people to support, we actually took a number, I think it was 24 business people who were openly looking for investment opportunities. So rather than me talking on behalf of those people, it's important to have them there to represent themselves. And likewise, when we host investors from other countries, I had a delegation just last week from Europe, and talking about potential opportunities here in Southern Alberta. It's really important that we understand the cultural norms, that we work with those people, and link government systems together as well. Even citizenship and the ability of a foreign owner to own land in our province. There's all kinds of nuances that are really important for us to explore, and that's what those missions are really about.
Yeah, and you've been doing this for a little while.
4.5 years I've been in this
Yes.
role. I come from industry. I've previously owned some small businesses, so I'd like to think I've got some base knowledge that I can bring to economic development. This is the most fun I've ever had. This job is, I always argue I have the best job in Lethbridge. So there's never a dull moment. Every day is different. But yeah, about almost 5 years, and I'm blessed to have an amazing team and an incredible board as well. It is a community-based board who bring their expertise and their perspective as well.
So when you're going on a mission like that, what kind of prep do you do? So I'm going to talk a little bit later about Team Lethbridge, and I know the kind of prep you did for that, but when you're going on a trade mission, what kinds of things do you do with the group that's going to really prepare them to get the most out of this trip?
Well, it starts with leveraging our federal and provincial partners, right?
Okay.
So the federal government maintains a trade commissioner service, which is essentially employees of the government of Canada in a number of countries around the world. I think it's about 160 countries where we maintain a presence. The government of Alberta also has international trade offices, and they're usually in Canadian high commissions and embassies. But one of the things you want to do is understand from our own resources, what are the issues, what are the hot topics, what are the projects that make some sense. So it starts with a lot of research.
Yeah.
Finding people that are familiar with the trade relationships, or if it's a particular industry sector. So we've used a young lady out of Calgary, for example, to support our China projects. She works back and forth. She's done government translation work. She's very good at what she does, and value her expertise. So it starts there. But then it's making sure that everybody that's traveling on the delegation really understands why they're going. Similar to what I said before, what are their outcomes? What are they actually trying to accomplish? It can't be just, I want to go on a trip. Right?
Yeah.
So, and are they ready for investment? Are they ready to do an international relationship? It takes a lot of time and energy to build those connections, and more importantly, to maintain those relationships through commerce. And some companies just aren't ready.
Okay.
So a lot of the prep work is around determining, is somebody ready to handle the complexities of international trade and international travel and those kinds of things.
Okay, so let's say we've got a business here in Lethbridge, and they know that you're going to do a trade mission to Japan. So do they come to you? Do they come to the city? Do you do an assessment of where their business is?
Yeah. So sometimes people will come to us directly, and certainly we'll take any inquiries that come our way. Sometimes we'll get referrals through the province or through the federal government. There's a number of different intakes.
Yes.
Most of those trade missions are hosted by either the provincial or federal government. Doesn't make a lot of sense for Lethbridge to do something by itself. We're far too small.
Yes.
We need to fold into the larger umbrella of another level of government. But there are a number of different training programs from Export Development Canada. There's a number of support programs. There's a number of different trade accelerator programs that are available through the province, as an example. So we'll do a bit of an assessment, bit of an intake interview, kind of find out, does the company really understand? Are they really ready? Work through their business plan, make sure they understand the market, and then really identify what support they need.
Okay.
They might be ready. They might be off on their own. It's just, safety in numbers.
Yes.
Or they might really need some additional support around financing or insuring receivables. There's all kinds of considerations when it's very difficult sometimes to get your money back if you're a continent away, right?
Yes, yes. Okay, so the next item that I have on my list is another item that's of great interest to me because it is Women in the STEM program.
Right.
And I am always interested in women programs that engage women in all kinds of things.
Okay.
So how about you tell our listeners a little bit about that program?
Sure. So Tech Connect is the technology incubator that's here in town. So Economic Development Lethbridge owns and operates that facility. And out of that building, we do run a number of entrepreneurial training programs, and one of the sort of subsections of that is Women in STEM. So STEM being science, technology, engineering, and math.
Mhm.
We know that women are traditionally underrepresented in the STEM fields.
Yes.
And so that's a concern, of course, in terms of the future workforce and future business owners. We want to make sure that women are properly represented. And there's a number of studies that suggest that a greater representation of women in the workforce would actually drive greater innovations and greater economic impact. So there's a legitimate reason to be going down that road. So we were very pleased last year to be receiving some funding from the federal government through Western Economic Diversification. And really it's to fund training for women in STEM. It's to create awareness around the different technologies, provide mentorship, create a mentorship program, as well as link women in particular in STEM fields to the resources that they need. Our motto, however, and I want to be clear about this, is powered by STEM, because that's women in STEM, because that's where the money comes from. But we will take anybody. So
Okay.
women are more than happy to bring men with them. This is not a discriminatory thing. We will serve everyone. But the focus of the federal funding is really around how do we make sure we engage more women in new startup businesses and in those technology, engineering, and math fields.
Okay, so how do women find out about this program? Like women who are listening tonight will find out about it, but you know, what is it you're looking for in these women to get them into this program?
Really, it's just an interest. So, you know,
Okay.
we're running a series of courses on coding, for example,
Mhm.
using the Python language, which I'll admit I know very little about,
Yes.
and I would prefer never to know any more than I already do. But, you know, coding is increasingly being important for app development. It's increasingly important in different software applications. So women that have an interest in perhaps building an app for their business,
Yes.
or if they're working with a developer, understanding what that developer is really selling them,
Okay.
knowing the programming language should be helpful. So we have that.
Yeah.
Coding school is what we're calling
Mhm.
it. We also have a series of programs that are part of the STEM program on emerging technologies. So things like blockchain. What the heck does that mean?
Yeah.
Why does it matter? Artificial intelligence, quantum computing. Just explaining some of these concepts so you know anybody that attends is better prepared to know what they're all about and how to harness them for their own purpose. And then we've also got our sort of traditional entrepreneurial training. So we talk about marketing plans and HR strategies and how to find financing and how to incorporate a business. So
Yeah.
sort of a broad range of subjects. There's about 45 different courses that we're offering this fall out of the center. So
Okay.
it's very busy.
Yes.
But you know, again, we know that the audience will have a variety of different skill sets, a variety of knowledge levels. So we need to try and customize and tailor as best we can. And when we can't help people, refer them within the broader network of resources in Lethbridge to the right support agency. So we're not a perfect solution for everyone,
No.
but if we can help direct people, we're happy to do that.
Okay, so do you go out and, let's say when they're doing a job thing at the college or at the university, do you go out and do a presentation and talk about these things?
Yeah, we sometimes have presence at career fairs. I'm often speaking to chamber groups, breakfast clubs, those kinds of things. We do have an outreach program. Our entrepreneurship program manager at Tech Connect's going to a lot of those events as well. Our website, social media, so people are welcome to follow us at Choose Leth is our Twitter.
Yes.
Most of the courses are promoted there, or go to our website, of course. And then all of the classes are available. They're listed there. And there's a nominal charge because we do try to feed people when they come to class in the evenings.
Yes.
But if people are struggling financially, we do have a scholarship program as well. We'll certainly entertain that if someone's got a financial need. You know, there should be as few barriers as possible. That's really what this is about, lifting people up and providing them with tools.
And I know that you're doing that. So if you've just joined us, you're listening to and or viewing Maria's Musings on www.jessfm.ca, and our special guest this evening is Trevor Lewington, the CEO of Economic Development Lethbridge. So another place where I run into you fairly frequently is Tech Connect.
Correct.
And when I speak to most people about Tech Connect, they really don't have any idea what I'm talking about.
Right.
So I'd like you to kind of, because you've already touched on it, just kind of do the buzzwords, the highlights,
Okay.
so people in Lethbridge know what Tech Connect is. Which is part of the reason I'm doing this show, because there is so much in Lethbridge going on.
And people have no idea that it even exists.
Exactly. So hook them into Tech Connect.
All right. Well, perfect. Tech Connect, I mean, ultimately is a physical building. So it's in the
Yes.
North Industrial Park, just north of the athletic fields in Sharing.
Yes.
But more importantly, it serves two purposes. First and foremost, it is an incubator. So it is a technology incubator. We have 21 offices there that people can rent. They can come and they can put their startup business in Tech Connect. They're provided with office space, professional meeting space. So if you're used to running your business out of mom's basement or your own kitchen, that may not be the best place to meet clients. So, you can get professional access to professional space. But more importantly, I think we have a number of business advisors and mentors that work out of the space. So these new startup companies can get advice not only from our advisors, but from each other. So there's an incubator aspect. And then the other reason that we love Tech Connect, or I think it's such a great asset for the city, is it's really our hub for all of our training. That's where we deliver all of this entrepreneurial training, all the STEM, emerging technology, all the classes. So whether you have an office at Tech Connect or not, all of those programs are accessible to the public, and that's why the building exists.
Okay. So people...
make use of it.
Yes, exactly. And make use of the expertise that's out there.
Absolutely.
Okay. So tomorrow's a
Big
big
day.
day. Yes. And you're going to be leaving early in the morning along with a large group of people on a particularly special trip. So would you share
Sure.
who will be traveling with you and what is the purpose of the trip?
So every 2 years, we lead a delegation of community and business leaders. So tomorrow morning, we're boarding buses. I've got 55 representatives, so our largest delegation ever, from 22 different community partners. So that ranges from the college and the university to Lethbridge Family Services to the Chamber of Commerce to the City of Lethbridge itself. In my mind, all the right people that can speak intelligently about our community to advocate for Lethbridge.
Yes.
So we take over the legislature building essentially for 3 days. We host receptions for MLAs. We meet with just about every minister or ministry. Sometimes it's a deputy minister or a chief of staff. But the idea is to go there and make sure the government of the day knows all about Lethbridge, knows about how important the work that we do down here is, how we contribute to the province, but also to ask the government how Lethbridge can be part of the solution, right? So how does the work that's happening in Lethbridge, how do the innovations that are happening in Lethbridge, all of these great things that you highlight on your show, how do we let the province know what's going on in Lethbridge? But more importantly, what can they learn from us and how can we share? It's all about partnership. We don't go to Edmonton with our handout.
No.
We don't go to Edmonton with a list of demands. That's not what this trip is about.
No.
It's about building relationships. We have a new government, right?
Yes.
Most of these ministers are in fact new to being an MLA as well.
Yes.
So many of them have been to Lethbridge, but they may not understand sort of all the nuances of our economy or all of the great organizations that we have. And I firmly believe that what Alberta needs, what Canada needs, is a little more Lethbridge, quite frankly.
Oh, I absolutely agree with you.
So this is an opportunity, not for me to do it, but to take 2 bus loads full of people who pay for the privilege, by the way. We sometimes get criticized that this is just another excuse for a trip, but all of these organizations contribute to the cost to represent the city as a united front under one banner with one message. And I think that's incredibly powerful. And it's been very successful.
Yes. So the reason I asked, of course, was twice while I was the MLA for Lethbridge East, you came to Edmonton. And I can't even tell you how much I said to my colleagues before ever you got there about how important it was to come and meet Team Lethbridge. And I told them all, you weren't asking anything, you wanted to share about Lethbridge. And not everybody came, but certainly most of our MLAs came, and I think quite a number of our ministers came. And they were quite shocked at what the team did and how they presented Lethbridge. And I mean, they heard me talk about Lethbridge all the time, but to have a group of people that represented so much of Lethbridge in a meeting, in a reception forum, so they could talk one-on-one with the different members of the group, it blew them away. And I have to say, I was so proud of Lethbridge and everybody who came. I think it had an impact, and I certainly like to think that many of the things that came to Lethbridge came because of the work that you and the Team Lethbridge did.
Right.
So I want to say thank you.
Well, thank you.
For coming and for making me so proud.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
It's great to hear.
Okay, so Trevor, we've covered lots of different things that are under your purview as CEO of Economic Development Lethbridge. Did we leave anything out that you really have a burning desire to share with us?
No, I just think I would say to people that fundamentally my organization is, again, funded by taxpayers. We're conscious of that. So we're here to provide service, right? Part of our mandate is investment attraction. So I do go all across North America, sometimes internationally, to bring new projects, new investors, new exciting things to Lethbridge. That's part of my role. But arguably even more important is supporting existing businesses, right?
Yes.
Most job creation doesn't come from that new greenfield investment. That gets all the press attention.
Yes.
Everybody likes ribbon cuttings. But most job creation actually comes from your existing businesses getting stronger. So again, if any of your listeners are thinking about starting a business, we're here to help. If any of your listeners or viewers have an existing business and maybe you're struggling or they're looking for an option, again, I won't have all the answers, but my job is to refer you to the right people that do. And there's an incredible support network here in Lethbridge. So we're here whether you use us or not. We're getting paid whether you use us or not. I would love to be so busy that we can hardly keep the doors open. So I just encourage people to reach out. If there's anything we can ever do, we're here to help. That's why we exist.
Well, I like what you've touched on in terms of businesses that are already established, and where do they go from here? Do they leave it and just remain the way they are as a little hub within our community, or could they really branch out and move to the rest of the province, to move to other parts of the world?
Right.
And to have a group like Economic Development Lethbridge that can look at what they have and assess the ability to move forward, or whether it's a little or to move forward a lot. I remember years ago my sister had a catering company and absolutely worked the clock around many times, and she said she was right on that cusp of, if she wants her business to continue, she's got to take that step.
Right.
And unfortunately, she didn't want to take that step. She just was overwhelmed by the amount of work that she had done. And the thing is, had there been an economic development for her, it would have made the difference. And it would have made a difference to all kinds of people, because she's such a fabulous cook.
People missed out is what you're saying.
That's right, they did. And, she made the best decision for her and her company.
Right.
But there are so many people here. I mean, we have lots of catering companies. We have lots of small companies that are just beginning to develop. And where they could go, like, the sky is open.
Truly.
We're in big sky country, and the sky is open
Truly.
to them. Yeah. So I hope that lots of people have listened in on the show tonight and understand they can pick up the phone, or they could drop into your office, which is on Stafford Drive.
Correct.
Or go out to Tech Connect and see some of the things that are going on. But you've touched on so many different projects that have developed here. Cavendish Farms.
Perfect example.
An absolutely fabulous example. They come, they start talking to the city. What do we need to do? They're already here, but what they wanted to do was so much bigger.
Right.
But they couldn't have done it unless all those pieces were together.
Well, even the fact that, yes, they could get the right utilities and servicing and build their plant in Lethbridge, but they also needed 12,000 new acres of potatoes to supply that plant.
That's right.
So that becomes obviously a huge impact to the region, but also involves lots of conversation with grower associations that help drive that investment, the college and the university to support workforce development, other communities around us. I mean, it involves all kinds of people. I'm very fortunate. I get to be the face of it very often.
Yeah.
But there are many partners in the community and many people at the table to help drive those things forward.
But you've worked behind the scenes, so you know how all those little pieces have to be working together and clicking.
Well, I hope so.
Yes,
That's why they pay me.
Yes, and I think we are so fortunate to have you in this position.
Oh,
and
thank you.
I hope it remains your favorite job for a long
It's
time
so much
to come.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm here for as long as they'll keep me.
Well, if I have anything to say, they'll keep you for a while.
Perfect.
So, Trevor, I want to say thank you for coming tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Taking your time, especially when I know you've got to go home and finish packing.
That is
to
on the
get
list.
on the
Yep.
bus tomorrow. And I wish I was going with you, I really do. But I wish you success over the next few days. And I hope that our government hears the message that you have for them, because they could really do with some of the positive things that we have here. And you're the guy and all that team to let them know about it. So I really wish you all the best.
Thank you.
For the next few days. And thank you very much for coming tonight. So you've been listening and or watching Maria's Musings on www.jessfm.ca with our special guest, Trevor Lillington, the CEO of Economic Development Lethbridge. Have a great evening, everyone, and please check out Tech Connect and Economic Development Lethbridge. Thank you and good night.
Good night.